I think I can just start. I mean, maybe I'm forgetting something, but I think I can just start. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of Under Construction. I'm your host, Ellis, otherwise known as the Admiral. We are right on time today, and I wasn't paying attention, I'll be honest. I thought maybe we'd be a little bit late, and I was just sitting here mulling over some things I'd like to talk about, philosophical, political thing, which I'm sure you guys will love to hear from me. But more than anything, I wanted to talk about how effing hot it is in this room. Oh my god! If I have to tap out early, I apologize because it's real hot in here. It's even hotter outside, so I can't open the window. I don't have the AC in um, yet this year. I think I'll put in the bedroom one. I just forgot how to play this game. Um, Shoot, I have to move this window over. Hey, Kevin. Um, oh, Lafayette's upset about something. What's the matter, good boy? There's probably somebody outside or something. I don't want to open the windows because it's 85 outside and it's like 70 something in here. It's it's not a great time to be inside necessarily, but it's a way worse time to be outside. I really hope it cools down soon. This sucks. Um, can you do this? We'll see. I don't know, man. Yesterday I did enough Tetris. Listen, if you tied the Tetris game to my thermostat, that would really be something. I mean, on the bright side, it means I don't have to pay for heating oil this year anymore. If I were outside, I'd be swimming in the street. Yeah, I hear it's been kind of rainy down there. Um, like really upsetting, like a crazy amount of rain. The pictures I've been seeing remind me of the 2010 floods that we had here in Rhode Island, which I know I've posted about in the Discord before. Oh shoot. Um, Not Tetris controlling the fans. Oh, that'd be terrible. I have to get good at bad Tetris, otherwise my laptop burns me. Thankfully, that's not the way I hooked that up. But it still feels like it. It wasn't. Yeah, I know it wasn't a hurricane. It's just been a crazy amount of rain. It's wild. The weather's been absolutely wild. I guess it'd be like that. I don't know. It's been a crazy time. Uh, I don't have any. I mean, I guess I have the heat. It's been dry as well. We've been on fire watch, um, which I have honestly never seen here in Rhode Island. And we have not a history of forest fires, but there are fires every once in a long while. Um, some like cigarette set a forest in Smithfield, North Smithfield, on fire. Um, I need to be paying attention to what's next. A couple days ago, and it ended up burning down someone's house, which is something that, like I said, never ever happens here, especially not in April. You know, April showers, right? Where the hell is all this heat coming from? But other than melting, today's been all right. The laptop stand made it through its first day of service. I can't really be unhappy about that. I thought it had failed at one point, so I put my hand under there to see if the fans were blowing, and I stuck my hand in the fans twice doing that. So, not my finest moment, but Oh shoot! Oh, that was supposed to go in the hole. Oh no, this might be the end of the run. Um, no, 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 no. Oh man, I didn't line that one up, and it did me in. 733. That's a terrible score. Oh my god, I thought we were doing better than that. It really did feel like we were. All right. Well, let's get on to doing what we come here to do. So, edit session. We have a lot of terrain work to do. I'll probably jump on that first, and then we'll do some stuff in the town. Then maybe we'll do something else. Gotta see. We'll see how it goes. So let's see. Let's see. I don't think I need a good reason to roll into my Again, it isn't strictly a political spiel. It's more like a how we do as people spiel. Um, but that's what was on my mind, and it didn't even. It's not even something that's been like floating around up there. It's something that came to me while I was in the bathroom a few minutes ago, and I'm just thinking like, oh man, there's something about when people use political labels. But you know what? I don't need to worry about that right now. Let's just move this onto the route layer and start finishing this, which this is going to be a pretty substantial chunk of land to get done today. Now, I don't know if it is going to get done today, or, well, this part will surely be done. The piece between this and the other piece, that's a better question. The real question is, will these tracks be close enough together that I won't have to then, um, come back and fill it in with like a plateau tool or something. There's also another Brightline clash since water backed up the roads. Ah, man. Yeah, I saw the Brightline crash. I didn't even think about. Yeah, you missed Tetris. I did really poorly this week. A score of 733. But you know what? That's fine because you didn't miss much. We started on time. We get the ball rolling early. Again, I'm feeling good aside from melting. And let's just get this done. Let's make some things happen on Tolbrand. I mean, honestly, this area, if we do it sort of the easy way, I don't think it should be that much effort at all aside from getting in the terrain part. And it's just going to be some relatively tedious terrain tracking, and then that'll be it. Honestly, I find terrain tracks to be the way to go for these kinds of sections where it's flat but with this subtle gradient. Hello, DT. And otherwise, it's all plateau tool. It's just, why would you use the plateau tool and the height up and down tools on something that's this simple, Alright, so let's do this. And I say let's do this as if I'm like leading into something special, but I'm not. I'm just putting down one of probably 100 pieces of terrain track. But I hope everyone's doing good today. I hope everyone's having a good Thursday. I never could get the hang of Thursdays, but like I said, for those who stuck around for the stream last week, yesterday, got that to work. It kept my laptop nice and cool today. I took some photos of it there in Photodump on the Discord server. But yeah, I mean, it's not anything I do because I feel like it's faster. It's not anything, whatchamahoosit. How to clone objects. You mean control click, right? That does it. Control move. I feel like I keep doing that by accident. It's something like that. I do need to learn bits and pieces of Surveyor 2002. Surveyor 2.0. Why did I say 2002? As time goes on, I have learned bits and pieces, some things that have been useful, but I don't know. I don't know about putting it all together. I don't think I'll be doing too much Surveyor 2.0 here, at least until I feel like, at least until I feel like I need it, right? Because up until now, we've been doing fine otherwise, and one of the main reasons to use Surveyor 2.0 in MPS is because of the lack of copy-paste in Surveyor Classic in MPS. I don't know if they have plans to resolve that. I get the feeling that they don't, because we have other Surveyor 2.0, or, other copy-paste. But they've got much bigger fish to fry anyway. I mean, you can't undo a train without the server crashing, and you can't, like, the water shows up out of nowhere. You can't even put in, like, the config for an industry. They have a weird thing with the way the session layer is. Better copy-paste, yeah. Um, it is better in some ways. I'll definitely give it that. The only thing that I don't like about the copy paste in Surveyor 2.0 is it doesn't give you that bounding box when you go to paste. Now it doesn't matter too much because you can move it afterward, but if you're using overwrite instead of add, you can run into problems. Um, I haven't ran into those problems yet because I have not been using overwrite, because you should not be using overwrite if you can avoid it. But there are situations where I can see it being troublesome. Either way, more options is always better, and I think I said it already, but the fact that they decided to go with giving us both Surveyor and Surveyor 2.0 now in the most modern releases of Trainz, in the beta versions of Trainz, that sort of thing. Why not use Overwrite? Well, if you're in Surveyor 2.0, you could destroy something that you don't mean to get rid of. Um, and if you are in Surveyor 1.0 and you're doing something which I usually use it for, like building a forest, then you don't want to duplicate the trees on a given area. What am I doing, Gavin Likes Trains? That's a very good question. I'm using a technique that I think I came up with called terrain tracks in order to flatten this area down to a single point. So this will be visually boring, and I'm sorry about that, but sometimes route building is boring. That's one of the things that I'd like to hammer home, and that I've tried to hammer home throughout the course of this series and the ones before it, is that route building at the end of the day is about sitting down and making the thing. You can paste the entire selected box and you can deselect the mark itself and just have the selected objects to move. Or marquee. Marquee. Yeah, and that's fine for Surveyor 2.0. But if you have, again, if you have overwrite on, then you might blow something away when you paste in the wrong spot or off to the side because you don't know where the middle is of this thing exactly. Unless there's a way, I mean, I suppose you could just delete stuff later and not use overwrite at all, which is a workaround. But like I said, that's the only. Also use it as a brush. Yeah, that is actually really neat. Yeah, sort of the blending and the adapting of things that we understand in Trainz, like things that we sort of expect to work a certain way, and bringing them into Surveyor 2.0 and having them work a certain way, or a different way. That's just a sort of a twist on a previous idea, or just sort of approaching a problem from a different angle. I really, really appreciate that. Again, especially because I don't have to learn all the intricacies of that if I don't want to. I don't have to make it work like Surveyor Classic, because I can just go back to Surveyor Classic because if I don't know how to make it work. You know, I'm sure many people in the audience here have used software where you get a new version of the software and suddenly a thing that you sort of expected to work a certain way, and this includes games too, you know, sequel to a game, you expect something to work a certain way because it worked that way in the last version, but in this version it works differently, and you need to figure out how to adapt your playstyle or adapt your workflow, if it's just a piece of software, to this new paradigm, to this new way the software works. And that can go for new pieces of software, or it can go for pieces if you've changed, say, you've upgraded from Paint to Paint.net, or gone from Paint to GIMP, or gone from Paint to Photoshop, or Paint.net to Photoshop, Paint.net to GIMP, that sort of thing. These things that all do more or less the same thing, but they do them in different ways. And I won't lie, there are some times, yeah, from Excel to Google Sheets, or Google Slides, but yeah, Excel to Google Sheets is exactly the same way. That's actually a perfect example. And I won't lie, there have been some instances where I go, okay, I can do this in like PowerPoint or CAD or Word or, you know, like Google Sheets or whatever. And I sit there and I go, well, what would be best for the job? And sometimes I come up with a combination of all the above, you know. I've had a thing where I had to make a big diagram, and I was being encouraged to do it in PowerPoint because all of the tools were there. But uh, the fact of the matter is, doing things in PowerPoint is sometimes like trying to draw with crayons, you know? And so I realized that I could make the table portion of it in um, I could make the table portion of it in Excel. I could make the graphical portion of it in CAD, and I could combine them in Paint.net and then put it on a PowerPoint slide. And that was the workflow that I developed, and it was easiest to do it that way because each of those corresponding pieces they worked in those programs. They those programs made those pieces the easiest. And when I'm doing something like building Geiger Union Terminal, there are some things where it's easiest for me to do them in Surveyor 2.0, and some things where it's easiest for me to do them in Surveyor 1.0. Um, it's it's actually just wonderful that we can go back and forth on a whim. It does weird things in single player though, and there is one other issue, which is if you accidentally switch to driver, all of your session rules will activate, and then you might have a really big problem on your hands if you don't curtail that immediately. If you don't put the brakes on that as fast as you realize, oops, I've not clicked Surveyor. God damn, it's hot in here. Have I mentioned that? I don't have the ACs in the windows. Honestly, I'd hurt myself trying to do it. I just don't have a way to do it right now. I'm in pain. My dad's out of action. Gloria is not super helpful when it comes to putting the ACs in for one reason or another. Not a knock on her, they're freaking heavy. But yeah, it's a thing. I might put the little AC in the bedroom window tonight, but it's gonna get down to like 65, and if I can keep the temperature in the house moderate until dusk, and then just throw open all the windows to circulate air through, that might be the way to go. Public displays of networking. Yeah. I am pulling all of these back to here, and honestly, I probably shouldn't be. Yeah, I take the AC units out every winter. Alright, here's what we're going to do from here. Except for the one upstairs that's embedded in the wall, because otherwise it would just be a hole. Air conditioners are not good insulation. If you have window ACs, you're going to want to take them out during the winter if you have cold winters, because you will just be blowing hot air out through the gaps, you know. And if you seal your ACs up really well with foam and stuff like that, yeah, it'll be good, or, you know, passable, but it will not be better than taking them out of the windows. It makes a difference, you know. Because the fall and the spring are the only time where you're really going to have open windows in New England, at least historically. And it's the spring now, and I would like to have some open windows, because if you have the house all bottled up all winter and you have to have the house all bottled up all summer, it just starts to smell. You know, you don't get that air circulation through. It's kind of rough, especially if you have well, like baseboard or radiator heat that don't actively circulate air. What if my windows already have no insulation and the walls are about as thick as a small UPS flat rate box? Well, it's still probably better than an air conditioner. At least the windows close. At least the flat rate box also closes. Have you tried packing tape? Infinite number of box fans. I used to have more box fans than I do. Now I only have one. The other one's died. And the only one left either lives on the porch or lives in the doorway over here to try to circulate cold air from the ACs. And the thing with it on the porch is I hang it up in the door frame, like from the top of the door frame. I don't do that inside in the summertime because I want to blow around the coolest air, which will be at floor level. Um, I gutted one for my Abomination laptop stand. That's not true, actually. I gutted one a long, long time ago. That was with Gloria. It was honestly like only it couldn't have been long after we started dating. Um, the fan died, and I just took it apart. Um, we took it apart. Gloria took some pieces to build a flower box out of, like the frame of it, and I disassembled the motor. I pulled out all the electrical parts. The motor itself was cooked. Like I couldn't get it to turn, even with a little bit of voltage. So I just sort of took the pieces and put them aside, and that's why I had this extra switch, which is good for the laptop stand. It ended up being good for that. But I had that switch for like 2 years before I actually found a use for it. We had stuff over the windows in the past. Yeah, there's a ton of airflow. Yeah, honestly, if you've got really old windows, especially if they're like single pane, which a lot of the older houses around here do have single pane windows if they're historic dwellings and you can't replace too much. Um, People put saran wrap over the inside of the window, like you cover the entire window frame with it, and it works. It sort of acts like a second pane. I mean, a very thin second pane, but because you have that air gap in between, you're circulating air a lot less. You are, uh, transferring heat a lot less. Sort of like the direct heat transfer isn't happening. It is an improvement. It is ghetto as hell, but it works. You take what works. All right, we finally reached the edge here, and I can start putting these splines into advanced mode. I could, I think, select all of these at once with Surveyor 2.0 and apply gradient or something, but I don't know if that works as well. So I'll just do them by hand. I mean, I could try it and then undo it. Maybe next time. Because I get the feeling it's not going to do what I want it to do. Oop, missed one. And this doesn't take too long anyway. Mom's trying to tell us the original single pane windows, and they hemorrhage air. They sure do. I mean, even if they don't leak, even if they don't draft, right? They're single pane. Heat will go through that. Glass is a resilient material, but it's not that resilient, and it doesn't hold up forever. Glass is probably stronger than you think. People think about glass being something that's breakable, but we don't use it in very heavy amounts. I remember reading a full-on breakdown where someone had done the math and the physics, I guess, to figure out if the Kool-Aid Man could smash through a brick wall without breaking. It'd be more work to do that. Oh, more work than what? But, yeah. I mean, it is more work than doing nothing at all, but it's just like, if you're trying to save on heat and energy, that's just the way to go, If you don't want your house to be cold and drafty, it's the way to go. So, oh, what the hell was I saying? Yeah, I don't know. Whatever the hell I was saying, wherever I was. Not that important, I'll remember it later. So, let's get this all sorted out. Let's do 3 clicks per, or so, 3 or 4 clicks. Oh yeah, that's right, no, the Kool-Aid Man, I did want to talk about that. And it turns out he could. If you took a normal glass pitcher and scaled it up to the size of a Kool-Aid Man, the walls, the Kool-Aid Man, the walls of the pitcher would be thick enough to survive an impact with I guess, a typical, using Surveyor 2.0 to apply gradient. Ah, okay. Well, I should just be able to use, like, the marquee tool and select the whole thing at once, and then just right-click on a track and select apply gradient. I mean, I will try it in the small scale because I'm kind of curious. Hey, wait a minute. I have an idea. Let's go to Surveyor 2.0. Let's do this. Hey, if this works, it's going to revolutionize train tracks. Or it might just crash trains. It might crash trains. Uh-oh, it's frozen. It's frozen. Come on, you can do it. I'm only filling in like 6 tiles worth of terrain at once. How's my CPU look? 100% classic. It's still thinking. It's still thinking. Uh-oh. Oh! It's running task. Listen, Dean, it's hot in here. Holy mother of pearl. I have to do that a few more times, though. I have to do it at least once more, if not twice more. But at least it doesn't crash. It takes a lot fewer operations. It's even more boring to watch. A lot of people will take plastic wrap and duct tape to their window. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about. My point is, glass is more resilient than you expect because the Kool-Aid Man could actually bust a wall down. Which is honestly the example in my head of that. Of glass being resilient. And I've kind of been impressed by the thought ever since. Oh, shoot. Oh, no. Haha! I can just disable it. I can just turn that one off. Let's do it one more time. This is great. I love Surveyor 2.0. Never heard of this KCS. Yeah, also, yeah, say goodbye to KCS. We'll be probably talking about that on the podcast this weekend. New format for the podcast. Well, not format, but crew is going to be changing around more. I talked about this. Listen, I think the chance of me burning the house down was actually much higher last night than it is right now. Alright, so we did that. I was playing with electricity last night. I was sitting at my desk at 4 o'clock, and I got the faintest whiff of like an electrical burning sort of smell, which isn't something super unusual for the office, and I think someone was using like either the toaster oven or the microwave or some other appliance. So, you know, basically bottom line is it wasn't me. But for the barest of moments, I thought that it might have been. I thought that it was me, and I just like stopped and I looked very carefully at my I could delete all these in one fell swoop with Surveyor 2.0. I'll delete these first. I stopped the fans. I like picked the laptop up. I sniffed around. Literally no insulation in the frames. Well, I don't know what to tell you. Anyway, let's just clear these out with Surveyor 2.0. Also, that was 130 items. I wish I could disable going into driver. Oh, it's still highlighting them. That's weird. I didn't think that that would do that. Delete. Boy, that saved time. Man, terrain tracks are even better with this. Hi, Lafayette. Damn, it is 7:29 and we've done the big piece already. Well, let's do the other big piece then. 4M standard bump. Why do we use 4M standard bump? Because I like it. Because it's nostalgic. I remember this from the very first time I played Trainz. It is not very good looking track, but it is here. Oh, this is going to take a lot longer, isn't it? Production is at an all-time high. You're damn right it is. This is going to take a hot minute, though. This is going to be like 100 there and back agains. So, brace yourself. You know what else I wish I could do? I wish I could hold a button to snap to the grid like AutoCAD. Surveyor 2.0 has brought it in this sort of direction, but I kind of wish Surveyor was more like CAD. Sometimes. 100 gex. Yeah. 100 trips. I mean, how many grid lines are in a tile? I don't know. It's like 760 meters, and the grid lines are 10 meters apart, so that's 76 in a tile, and we have 3 of them. 3 tiles. Well, I've got to cut that in half, so that's like 35 plus 3, that's 38. Times 3 is 120 plus 24, which is 144? 8? I lost track of number. But it'll be like 150 there and back again, I think. Well, 150 singular trips, 75 there and back again. I hope my back of the envelope math is right. I guess we'll find out, because I'll be able to select all of these at once with Surveyor 2.0 and tell them to do a thing, and it'll tell me how many operations it has to complete. Alright, somebody keep an eye on that number. Keep a brain on that number. Keep one of your brain cells on it. A little piece of dust just flew in my eye, and I can't help but think about, I wish you to move the camera up, it won't go into map mode. I actually kind of like that, but I do wish I could turn it off. I like zooming out, but what I don't like is zooming out and then hitting M to go into map mode, and then both of my views are in map mode. Like my view is, but then when I hit M to exit map mode, I'm in the extremely zoomed out map mode camera. Oh, is there a thing to disable it in the settings? I kind of wish I could just turn it off and on the fly, is my thing. Something we can do today is we could actually update the paper map, so to speak. We could update the paint.net map with all the work that we've done getting up to Pan Am. It's sort of like a milestone thing, and I know we're not done with Pan Am yet, but we are already building past Pan Am. It's an eyelash or something. Yeah, there was a big bee trying to get into the porch earlier, Gloria told me about. Gloria called me twice today while I was at work, concerned. The first time was because they heard something fall. And I figured it might have been something I placed precariously, but what it actually was, well, and they were in bed at the time, so I think they were just like freaked out because the dog was with them, the cat was with them. It's just like there was a thump from somewhere in the house, and they called me like, oh, I just heard something fall. I don't know where it is. I asked them if it sounded like it was downstairs. They said no. No, it sounds like it's on this level. I said, well, you know, go find out what it was. A couple minutes later, Gloria says it was the baby gate that had fallen over. And the baby gate's at the top of the stairs. And the stairs have a door on them, or like a hatch on them. And when that's closed, which I usually keep to close during the winter, most of the heat stays down here. Upstairs does have a baseboard, but it's tied into one of the thermostats down here. I've discussed how awful the heating zone setup is. Yeah, it's definitely the ghost in my house before, so I won't get into it right now. But the deal is, in the summer, when I am not running air conditioners, or sometimes even when I am running air conditioners, I leave the upstairs door open so that the heat can rise up there. In the wintertime, I don't want the heat to rise up there. But in the spring, in the fall, in the summer, if the heat rises into the attic and then goes out of an open window, that I always leave a window open up there when I'm doing this. That's, I consider that an absolute win. Unfortunately, when it gets windy, like it does today, uh, the wind will blow things over because the window's open. So it blew the baby gate over because the baby gate was just leaning. And I have sort of thought about making a more permanent way to secure it, but the fact of the matter is I don't need more like nails and brackets sticking out from things, especially up there. Because before it was a door, it was just a piece of wood that covered the top of the stairs. When we had someone living up there, when we were renting the room out, she dropped the piece of wood and it fell down the stairs and it knocked over one of my one of the things I have hanging on the wall, and it broke the glass on it. Which I guess the thing that's hanging on the wall with glass, you would call that a picture. So I went, all right, I'm not letting that happen again, but I want to put my picture back up. So I took it over to Providence Picture Frame. Lovely people. Had them replace the glass. And then I sort of jury-rigged a pair of hinges. That will definitely be a chapter in the Frank and Frank memoirs whenever I decide to write them, which probably will be next on my list of things to write after Iron Horseman the motion picture, the novel. Yeah. I was making headway on that too. I'm looking forward to every coffee shop so I can share the next 5 pages of Iron Horseman the motion picture, the novel. Which, admittedly, if it's 5 pages per, and this novel is the same length as all the other novels, yeah, the problem was building hinges. It wasn't like keeping it from falling over. It's literally, I had a tough time installing hinges. The door is very thin. It's a very thin piece of wood. Yeah, if this is the same length as my other novels, which are both 100 pages exactly, or all 3 of them actually, that I've written to completion, the it will be 20 coffee shops. Yeah, doing my math right. 5 pages per coffee shop, 100 pages, 20 coffee shops. So that's about a year and a half of continuously going over this. And honestly, that seems like a low number. It seems like a low number. Waiting for a continuation of the Rat Raid. I mean, you'll be waiting for a while. I don't think I'm going to mess with that. But I have thought about if I were to do like a soft reboot of the TTO sort of stories, cutting out most of the fan fiction portions of it, and diversifying the universe a little bit and my characters a little bit, and sort of making it my own. I would probably end up focusing on the sort of Admiral's Blockade Runners type stuff, but also, again, re-explore the universe as if it is new, because so much of that stuff is very, very old. I started writing TTO stuff in middle school, and I really didn't change any of the canon since then. I've just been building on it and building on it. It's sort of like Star Wars Legends, except there's no core canon. It's just all legends. It's all a mess. That said, I don't think there are any real contradictions to the lore. It's just not good writing. I mean, all that stuff is out there. Well, some of it's out there. Some of it's on the community channel, which used to be the Admiral Ellis channel, for those who remember. I wonder if I'm going to look back at these videos and cringe at my face cam the same way I cringe at the 2014 weekly timetables. The thing about the weekly timetables, though, that I'd completely forgotten is that I actually did editing in those. I didn't even think about it, but I used to put in clips of whatever was going on that week. I had completely forgotten. But that's when I actually had time to do that sort of thing. So, you know, yeah, good old weekly timetable. And I like how, I did even try to bring it back when I was here. And I just think about, like, I wanted to do okay, this is like my life situation, right? But I guess that's what this is for, you know? This is my vlog. This is my sort of zen and chit chat with you all, and mostly just talk about my life because I can control the conversation completely because it's a very one sided with comments. Uh, Whereas Sunday driving is sort of the chit chatting about lives and stories and whatever. And I want to point us towards that in Sunday driving. Um, I want it to be almost like like an RT podcast or off topic sort of feel where we are sharing stories and, just talking about what's going on in our daily lives. Of course, whatever we're willing to share and put on the internet. Um, Obviously, there's more of a focus to me about having just genuine conversations with people, genuine conversations with my friends, uh, than it is like I want to make content out of it. The stuff that goes on the community channel, by and large, and that'd be the playdates and Sunday driving, uh, is more about having a record of the community events and of the things that we do and say than it is about making content for people. It's sort of like my way of holding carrying a camcorder around, right? Because back in the day, there were so many bits in the Horseman where it's like, oh my god, I wish someone was recording this. That's why we have the meme doc. Um, and now we have that, at least. Now we have these recordings. And of course, the caveat is they are online publicly, uh, which is a thing. But nobody watches the community channel anyway. I would know. I was surprised that how long the Hamilton uh, reel list sat at 0 views, and I figure it must be just because we had such a long hiatus. People weren't like geared up for watching the reel list again, and it's a little bit wacky, and it starts out wacky because it started out after I had just spit water all over the keyboard, but it's we've picked up again at least. And I probably will be watching a movie with Gloria tonight after I finish this, which means it's day number 3 of my open TTD company just sort of languishing. But it's been busy at work, between IT and computer problems and actual work. So, and of course at home has been busy too. You guys were there last night. Well, some of you were there last night. But yeah, I mean, I will say if anyone wants to sort of stick something in here, if somebody's trying to say like, oh, say this on, I have an interesting story or whatever, I'll take stuff. I can't develop my own content here. I mean, I can, but I've only got so much to talk about. I can only talk about how the Volvo, hey Mew, I can only talk about how the Volvo 240 has water coming in from maybe not the windshield actually, uh, for the umpteenth time. I can only talk about that so many times. But I really do need Tony to look at that and figure out where it's coming from. It's getting kind of annoying. I know what happens when you get water in your carpet. You just rust straight through the floor. And I'm not really excited about the prospect of needing to have somebody rip up all the upholstery so they can weld a plate over the hole that's formed in the floor of my car. Um, Actually, I was surprised by how often hole in floor is an issue with cars, particularly older cars. And I suppose it's from water infiltration, right? Uh, I remember my dad was buying a Jeep. Oh yeah, mold buildup is another problem, but that's like you get in there with some vinegar or bleach and some elbow grease, and you can do a number on it. But You know, white vinegar honestly is like a miracle liquid. I can't believe how many hygienic issues can be solved by white vinegar. Try putting a, you know, not a cup, but like an amount of white vinegar in where your fabric softener or liquid bleach goes in your washing machine, and it just demolishes stains. Uh, or not stains, it demolishes smells. Um, well, yeah, because you guys don't have any salt. But that's not my point, because it doesn't wear through from the bottom. The holes in the floor in these cars don't come from rusting through from underneath. They come from rusting through because you have a leak somewhere, and because you get water on your floor and it sticks in the carpet and it does not evaporate because you have your windows up all the time. Uh, you know what I mean, Dean. Yes, you do have salt, but it's not as prevalent. That's my point. Uh, but some places use sand, which it has its pros and cons. Um, But yeah, my dad was gonna buy a Jeep with a hole in the floor, and I never thought about why it might have a hole in the floor. I just thought, oh, that's a thing that happens to cars as they get older. And now I must realize, you know, I realize that it must be because you have hard tops and soft tops on Jeeps, and they're, you know, you often drive them around without the top on or without the doors on. And if you get caught in a rainstorm, or even if they just don't seal right when you put them back on, 16 is still pretty low. I feel. I don't know how many Providence has, but we have like a zillion private contractors that go out in their F-150s with plows and salt dispensers. Anyway, um, hey Ryan, it's going all right. I mean, it is hot as hell in this funky, hot room I'm in. Uh, but other than that, it's pretty good. I would like to know like salt trucks per capita. I want that plotted on a map of just every city in the U.S. with a population over, I don't know, 100,000. Um, Province 178. Nice. I really want that on a map. That'd be amazing. That would be a lot of aggregation. Maybe you could just do state capitals. Is Memphis the capital of Tennessee, or is it one of your other cities? I noticed that you sort of laughed at Nashville being called the Los Angeles of the Appalachians, which I thought that was funny too. It has 5 for a population of under 10K. Oh, it's Nashville. Okay. I wasn't sure. I figured it was one of the two. I mean, yeah, that sounds about right. And I didn't want to drill down that much, um, because when you get down to 10K, 10K is like a traffic engineering. Uh, Wait, Dean, would you have preferred Memphis be called the Los Angeles of the Appalachians? Uh, when you get down to 10K, that's like a traffic engineering milestone to be considered a friggin' town. Um, Honestly, if you're under 10K, the DOT or the MUTCD, the Manual and Uniform Traffic Control Devices, treats you differently. It sets the signal warrants differently. Like, it deprioritizes traffic infrastructure for you, which is very funny. Elvis made his name in Memphis, and yet Nashville takes the credit. Oh, okay, yeah, fair enough, I guess. Um, yeah, but you guys have the pyramid, so you guys want Elvis and the pyramid? That's just hoarding. On the There was a thread. It was probably on the RCR subreddit about Nashville being called the Los Angeles of the Midwest, or the Los Angeles of the Appalachians, and well, then give Nashville the pyramid. Uh, we all know they can fly, uh, and we're trying to compare what other, you know, this city is the blank of the Appalachians. And the only one that sticks in my head is that Pittsburgh is the Paris of the Appalachians. And for some reason, that works so well. Chicago is the LA of the Midwest. We don't need another dump. Chicago is quite nice. I I really enjoyed visiting Chicago, and I would like to go back sometime soon. You know, it's like New York City but cleaner, and I know that doesn't help a lot of people who have negative opinions of cities, but honestly, it has plenty of green space, really good transit, obviously because that is the L, which is in better shape than the New York City subway system. Not that that's a high bar. Um, and there's at least two songs about Memphis. I'm sure there are more than at least two. Uh, but they've got some cool sculptures and really great museums and things like that. The thing with Chicago's museums is they're all sort of close to one another, which is always great to have all your museums back to back to back. You have just like a museum district. The downtown was nice. It had a lot of nice restaurants, even though some were kind of hidden. Um, we had a restaurant. We found a restaurant inside a hotel. It was hidden and it was delicious. We being Gloria and TBA and I. And yeah, there are some areas of Chicago that you don't want to go, but find me a city where there isn't. Chicago is not as bad as it is on the news, you know. Nashville is 23. Oh, oof. I bet Providence has like one. We're mentioned in a few songs. Uh, Rhode Island has The Road to Rhode Island from Family Guy. But they had to be those guys. Yeah. But yeah, I would love to go back to Chicago. Bonus is the IRM being like an hour away. Because IRM is fantastic. Secret delicious burger joint, the Parker Meriden Hotel in New York City. At least 19. Who the hell is writing about Providence? There is no way Providence should have as many songs as almost as many songs as Memphis. Uh, if it's got a homeless problem and or the face of the building falling off, I don't want anything to do with it. Well, you're hard pressed in every city ever. Construction problems are rife no matter where you go, and homeless people. What do you know? There's a lot of homeless people where there are a lot of people. Yeah, everywhere ever. I mean, Boston had that. I think the glass falling off the John Hancock Center when that was built. That was crazy. I don't remember if anyone got hit by a falling slab of glass, but that's why if you ever see, you know, the very classic New York City, there's always scaffolding up over sidewalks. That's not because they're always working on those buildings. That's because someone was crushed by falling masonry, and it's easier to put those up than it is to actually fix the masonry. That's what happens. At least my town gives you the permits the same day and deals with the homeless issue. Well, your town is less than is 10,000 people. That's the difference between a small Midwestern town and some of the largest cities in the world. What? Madon? Uh, I mean, I'm not saying there, like, aren't sort of pros and cons here. It's just that's the way things are. I don't feel like that's a point against a specific city. It's sort of a point against every city. And if you don't want the hustle and bustle of a city and everything that entails, then that's not like the wrong answer. Uh, People like different things. I like being in this weird sort of urbanized suburbia. Also, I don't think that I don't know Orion. I feel like you're sort of shortchanging the incredibly uh like the homeless problems in cities are not exactly being ignored. I mean, there's only so much you can do when there are so many people. The issue is really just throwing money and resources at the problem. Uh, but that's sort of the thing. If you have homeless people in a town of 10,000, it's probably a handful of people. If you have homeless people in a city of 8 million, it's scores and scores of people. It's probably hundreds, if not thousands, of people that, you know, are noticeably homeless. And then it becomes much more of a problem than, well, we're going to talk to this, this guy or these group of people and work together as a community to get them on their feet. Like, yeah, that does happen, but the small scale in which that's able to happen is completely outstrapped by the sheer number of people that go to these cities because of the opportunities there and end up homeless. Um, and lower cost of living and being business friendly, they only take you so far in in a small town. You know, if everyone were to flock to a small town, you'd have the same problems as a big city. That's just the way economy. That's the way the economy works. Uh, that's what happens to these small cities. Especially out west, we're talking like Salt Lake City and Phoenix come to mind, where it's historically been relatively inexpensive to live as opposed to coastal metropolises, but then people move there and then they suffer from the same problems that large coastal cities do. Uh, and, Denver also comes to mind. But Denver has been an attractor of people for longer, so it's less in the more recent wave of things. But I mean, you should absolutely always, treat the homeless like people, and try to help them in every way that you can. And even just doing that on a one-to-one level is not a bad thing. Um, I don't suggest giving money to panhandlers, but I would give them like a snack or a water. Hi, baby. Oh, right, Mother's Day. Hey, don't everybody forget Mother's Day next month. Um, it's on the 14th, which is isn't it always on Sunday? Yeah, yeah. Well, and cities turn to hostile architecture because, let's face it, they're never going to get the budget to do anything else. I would love to be sort of more optimistic about being altruistic, uh, but that's the thing. It's either you throw countless millions of dollars at the homeless problem, doing it the right way, which is obviously the right way, or you do something else. You build hostile architecture. You forcibly move around homeless people. It's not a kind thing. It's not the right thing to do. If you're Philadelphia, you give people one-way tickets to New York City, that sort of thing. Um, that's not a joke. They did that. They got in trouble. This was like back in the 80s or something. One-way bus tickets. But some people, lots of people aren't homeless because they are addicted or broke or anything. It's just because they want to be somewhere and there are no accommodations in their price range. There are tons of people living in their cars, uh, that you wouldn't even necessarily think of or consider as homeless. They might shower at a Planet Fitness, uh, and they might spend most of their time at a library when they aren't working, that sort of thing. And like, these people exist, and you wouldn't know they're homeless. When people think of the homeless, they think of people living in tents under highway bridges. You know, they probably think of people that are destitute and probably drug addicted, uh, and like, those exist and they are a real problem. And you can shovel money at that problem. You can shovel money at those people and help for those people as much as you want. There's only a couple of issues with that. Money is not your only object. You need people that want to get in there and care for those people. You need people that will make that their career more than anything. Um, and that is a high, that is a price to ask someone if those people aren't being paid very much. And if those people are being paid very much, they're going to be sort of a burden on your finances, right? There's a plus and a minus here. Um, and yeah, you need houses. I like my small town though, small enough to walk it, big enough to have a Walmart and a Lowe's. Well, that is something that has been there's those that choose to be homeless. Yeah, I mean you can't help people that don't want to be helped. But I would reckon the vast majority of homeless people aren't choosing to be homeless, at least not choosing insofar as if given the means to own a home they wouldn't. Uh, there are people that are choosing to be homeless insofar as they choose to live in their cars because they want to save what little income they have for other things. Um, yeah, but the point is, it's not just a good portion of the homeless are veterans. Now, what this is a failing of our politicians, and as a reflection, it's a failing of our people to elect people who want to and have a track record of helping vets. Uh, you know, if anything comes back to a frustration with government policy, it should come back to a frustration with the people that are electing the people that are bringing on that government policy. I mean, we live in a democracy. Everything comes back to us at some point. Um, and then you can trace it back further, education, parents, etc. But it's just, yeah, it's something to always keep in mind, you know, not just with regard to, or, it's not the only thing to keep in mind, certainly, when I talk about the pros and cons of policy, but it is always something to keep in mind. Um, you know, I think it's easy to be compassionate, and everyone should be. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But at some point, we have to put our money where our mouth is, and maybe give up something. Give up something. Give up either a portion of our money in the form of taxes, or our convenience in the form of actually volunteering, or actually working for money uh, in the pursuit of this kind of help. Uh, it's the kind of thing that it's easy to be frustrated. It's much harder to actually do something about it, especially if that something means voting for a guy that you might not agree with otherwise, because it's for the greater good. Uh, let me go back to Surveyor 2.0. Let me try this in Surveyor 2.0. But the point is, to come back to it, I wouldn't rail on cities for necessarily for their homeless policies. I mean, I would, but I wouldn't write them off on account of the homeless policies, because, frankly, there's a lot of people. You know, it is these policies happen, or the existence of these homeless people happen because people come to these cities because of these policies, and also because of their opportunities. Okay, let's see. Apply height. No. Apply gradient? Apply height. No, that's not it. Undo that. Apply grade to this spline endpoint. No. Um, yeah, I think that's happened a few times. It's a grossly mishandled, it's a grossly mishandled good option. I don't think that if somebody wants to, if somebody has good reason to no longer want to be on this mortal coil because they are aged and have a terminal disease that's killing them slowly, or it's, whatever. Uh, I'm not talking about like because you had a bad day. Uh, I don't think that doctor assisted suicide is necessarily a bad thing, but it should never be pushed on people. Um, all right, let's see. And I know that's a controversial take. I know that we only get one life. It's a really important thing to hang. All right, so I'm just gonna not do it this way because I can't figure it out. Uh, it's a really important thing to want to hang on to our lives and help people hang on to theirs. I mean, it's the only thing that we've got, really. Uh, if you're religious, you might believe in something else. If you're not religious, you don't. But the bottom line is, no one can confirm what happens after we die, and to that end, we've only got the one life. Uh, but yeah, and that is sacred and important. But I don't want to get off on this depressing tangent so much. Uh, I feel like in the realm of existence, there are legitimate reasons why someone may want to terminate their own life if they have gone through or are going through some sort of immeasurable suffering. But no, Mew is absolutely right. Uh, I just That's why I say it is something that was grossly mishandled. Um, Neither are war crimes for Comrade Ivan in the back bullying his neighbor. Sure, yeah, but you know, if the option to death is a living hell, you know, if the option to death is something that is clearly never going to get better, just certifiably, you know, like I say, some sort of terminal disease, that sort of thing. It's not. It's not necessarily right to keep someone living in agony. Um, oh, and it's still selected. I like that. Oh, where's the thing to click on? It's over there. But that's just why. That's why I want to give that sort of caveated response. All right, smooth ground art is selected. Will it tell us how many things we have selected? Maybe. It's taking its sweet time. Oh, it's still taking its sweet time. Oh boy. This is a much larger area than the last one. No, it's still here. It's still here. It hasn't crashed yet. We're good. We're still good. Anyway, my point is I just wouldn't write off cities for all that. Again, you cannot like living in the city. There's nothing wrong with that. I think I would lose my mind if I was in the middle of nowhere. But honestly, Orion, the thing you just described, and I don't want to use buzzwords too much, but the thing you just described about your town makes me think of the sort of 15-minute city sort of idea. And it's the reality that I'm living in and that I appreciate. I don't necessarily want to live in the middle of a downtown. There's too much going on. There's nowhere to effing park. There's, if your city never sleeps, how the hell do you get to bed, right? Um, it's nice to be near things. It's nice to be near venues. It's nice to be near restaurants. It's nice to be near, shopping centers and work. Um, but oh wow, oh, it was 108. It's actually a lot lower than I expected. Okay, let's hope these subsequent ones go faster. Um, Smooth ground under selected. Let's do it again. Um, And, I feel blessed to live in an area where I can take a 5 or 10 minute bus ride to work. It's a 1 seat ride. It's a 2 minute walk to the bus stop and then a 5 minute walk from the bus stop to the office. It's not a long way to go. It's actually so short that I don't like driving it because the car can't warm up to operating temperature and thus problems. Oh, I can't believe I just won a thing. Um, how the hell do I? I just won 3 months of Nitro. Live on stream, I just won 3 months of Nitro. I've never won a sweepstakes or anything like this before. This is crazy. I don't know what I'm going to use it for. Probably just emojis everywhere for 3 months. Did I miss it? Was it 5 minutes? It couldn't have been 5 minutes. No, it's 1 minute. Sent the DM. Is it done yet? No, it's still thinking. I mean, maybe it's sus. I don't know. Okay. Yep. Boy, this server really loves to ping at here. It's in the Railfan community server. This is quite a few people in here. There's like 1,000 people in the server. Oh, there's 785 members of the server. It says it right there. I suppose this guy's going to send me a code. I've never had Nitro before. This is like the first class ticket of Discord. Which I also never had before until I did a thing. Smooth grinder to select. There should be one more. You were a T-bit close to lose the offer. I suppose, I guess I wasn't fast enough on the thing. Just give me your Discord login, yeah. Cities are great and all for global trade. Life ain't for me. Rather get my hands dirty changing oil and digging dirt. Hey, you can still do that in a city, but yeah. Again, I have a supermarket in a walking distance. I have a job on a bus ride. I have downtown on a very short bus ride. Train station. I have all sorts of little shops around me that can do basically anything I need. I can walk to a hairdresser. I have no real need. Like, I don't live in suburbia. I live in an urbanized area, but not a downtown. Um, and I think it's not unreasonable that most everyone should be able to live like this. It would be an improvement for the vast majority of people. I don't love the idea of having to go a long way to go to a supermarket or to go to a hairdresser or to go to a mechanic. Everyone should have within their, general grasp or vicinity the ability to have most services, or the hospital. Yeah, that's another good point. I'm very close to a hospital too. For when I sliced my thumb open, it was nice to have it right there. But this isn't just like a suburbia problem. It sometimes happens in downtowns where you have poorly planned areas and food deserts and things like that. But that's sort of my deal, which is you've got everything you need in your little town, Orion, and that's fantastic. I wish every town was like that, and I wish every part of every city was like that. You know, and we can engineer that, we can create that, we can zone that. If people want to spend the political capital, if people want to spend the actual capital to, to sort of analyze their cities, to dig deep and act, boldly. Exactly. We can vote for it. Um, and I like that, you know. And not every city has to be Los Angeles, and not every town has to be, I don't know, name a small town. East Strasbourg. I don't know. Is East Strasbourg an actual town, or is it just the station? Uh, and then it can get overturned by the Supreme Court, yeah. Um, but the point is, you know, I think in at the end of the day, despite me being a city slicker and you being a country fella, we more or less want the same things in our life. We want to have easy access to the stores we need to shop at, the places we need to go, and the you know the venues in which we want to see entertainment. Brightline Midwest, yeah. We want connectivity to the rest of the world, but we don't want it necessarily to be in our laps all the time. And it goes to show, and here's the cliche, that we are all more alike than we are different. And it pays to remember that. Now, this brings me back to the sort of political grandstanding that I was thinking about doing at the beginning of this, and please excuse me at the end of the day. But I hope this does not go after anyone in particular. I don't want to go after anyone in particular. Um, because there isn't really anyone in particular I have in mind when it comes to saying this, and to be frank, I usually don't. Um, I don't like targeting. I don't like uh, making. I don't like being specific. You know, I try to caveat all my statements. I am much more of a Burr than a Hamilton in that regard. Um, I wonder what streamer won just now. Thank you. I've never had Nitro before. I've never won a single damn thing. Anyway, um, anyway, so people seem to like people seem to like putting themselves in boxes, and I'm not even talking about people putting other people in boxes. Not saying you are an X, therefore you must like Y, or you like Y, therefore you must be an X, right? Uh, an easy one to do this with, and again, please excuse me, this is not targeting anyone in particular. I'm just using easy examples. Uh, and I think no less, or well, no more, of anyone with particular. Um, well, that's why you're going to love having a Volvo, Dean. Uh, with particular political penchants, or that sort of thing. But you know, if somebody if somebody says that they have a you know they have an affinity for firearms, if they like guns, right? People are going to assume some things about that person. People are going to try to fit them into certain boxes. That's not what I'm talking about, although that is also a problem, and possibly even a bigger one than this. But that is more of a problem that someone might be on the receiving end of rather than the giving end. Although if you're on the giving end, stop it. Get some help. You can have varied sets of beliefs about this and whatever. Yeah, also go to horny jail. I should have said that, Dean. Uh, oh, right. Let's delete all this. I like pew pews, but I ain't a killer. Uh, my point is, people tend to put people in boxes. Not really good. But what I find slightly more frustrating than that, because I understand the basic human. You connect the dots in your head, right? It's a thing that happens. Um, all right, I really just want to go in a straight line, so we're gonna go to here, and then we're gonna go straight down this way, and then we're gonna cross the river probably right here, where we can do it perpendicular. Nope, that's not the track I want. Let's go get the track. If you go far enough left, you get your guns back. Yeah, but people don't generally think about that. What I'm saying is, if you have, someone who likes a certain thing, find yourself going right. If you have someone who likes a certain thing, you might put them in a box, and that's not good. However, a bigger problem than that, or a more easily correctable problem from the point of view of you, the individual, is someone who, all right, you guys can cool it with the horseshoe theory, okay? Is somebody putting themselves in boxes. Now, that doesn't seem like too much of a problem because, I mean, people like to know where they identify, right? But I feel like the existence of horseshoe theory is because the existence of politics is more than a two-dimensional line, right? Um, yeah, that is Cars also. I didn't know Lightning McQueen subscribed to horseshoe theory. Uh, or wait, who was that taught him that? Was that Doc? Um, uh, People like to put themselves in boxes. People like to know where they stand according to labels, right? That's not helpful. I feel it is in the small scheme, but not so much in the big scheme. I don't like it. Uh, I don't like doing it for myself. I don't like watching people do it. You know, um, yeah. Well, again, it's the horseshoe theory is the whole thing. Uh, the issue is, God, I just had some weird like vertigo going on with that, and what's unfortunate is I kind of lost my train of thought when it comes down to this. Is this a straight line? No, it's not. It's veering slightly to. Why is this not straight? Hold on. Um, is this because I didn't line this up? Why is this not straight? That's weird. Um, anyway, people like fitting themselves in boxes, and I think that is unhelpful because it makes you a poor debater, but it also makes you a poorer person. And those are sort of uh, my my initial thoughts on it. That's my thesis statement. Is it makes you a worse debater and it makes you a worse person. It might not cause you problems per se politically, you know, and it may make you feel more at home if you realize, I am an X or I am an X or I am a Y. Um, but I'll explain why. I'll explain why. When it comes to debates, people being in boxes, putting yourself in boxes, opens you up to the sort of problem that I mentioned earlier, which is the very clear you open yourself to 1,000 straw mans. You open yourself to 1,000. Uh, well, you like this, therefore you must blank. If you like this, why don't you this? Um, and that's not good. That's not helpful. Yeah, if you explain X, then can you explain Y? Um, but that's sort of like the basic thought. And if you don't care, if you aren't going to engage in political debates, which some people don't, and that's totally, like not a bad thing to do, um, is to just sort of chill out and sit on the sidelines and maybe read a little. Um, then you don't need to worry about that part of it. However, the part that I find more troublesome is the second point, which is I feel like it makes people worse. I feel like it makes people worse because if you spend time being in those boxes and claiming to be in those boxes, then it makes your beliefs harder to step away from. It makes the things that you have said you stand by, not only, like I said, does it make them broader and more able to be critiqued, even if there are things that you do not necessarily believe or not believe as strongly. once you feel a sense of belonging in a box, it makes you loath to get out of it. Uh, I'm a proud blank. And certainly perhaps people that stand by their political affiliation so strongly may be having trouble divorcing themselves from it no matter what they call themselves. But it's just sort of a question of if you brand yourself, it is one more hurdle to admitting that you might be wrong. And that is, that's the thing I always come back to if I were to give political or, whatever seminars, it would always be coming back to actually you're wrong. Not about anything in particular, but more often than you think you are. And I am most certainly one of those people. I am wrong very often. In fact, I had 2 conversations today where I had to take one look at the sort of subject matter of the conversation and go, well, either this is wrong or I'm wrong, and I'll be honest, I don't know. It might be me. Because why entrench yourself? That's what all this comes down to. It's a why entrench yourself. And that doesn't mean you should not believe strongly in things and, of course, fight for the things you believe in. And it does not mean you should not, ally yourselves with people with similar beliefs in order to fight for those beliefs. But it does mean that you should not define yourself by a political moniker. And that is the politics are a gamble, 50% you're wrong, 50% you're correct. If only it were that simple, though. Because you hypocrite, I won't vote for them. You can have a firm ideological stance and be wrong and learn from other people with other firm ideological stances. Yes, but it's harder. It is another hurdle. I don't disagree with that sentiment. I think that you can have a firm ideological stance, but that doesn't mean you have to have a name for it. And what's in a name, but that's sort of my point here. I don't think that you should not have a firm ideological stance, but I don't think you should necessarily make yourself beholden to a certain title. You can be the guy who supports blank, the person who supports this, the person who does not support this. You can. It is more helpful to one's person, or helpful to one's ability to learn and grow, to categorize oneself. Not, why did I just put those on the ground? Categorize oneself not by what a words mean, but what your beliefs mean. And obviously, how do you communicate those without words? But things get corrupted constantly. You can be someone who supports something and not be under a specific banner. And honestly, Orion, that's not a bad example. Because if you were to abstract this further into flags, into objects, into symbols, these things get changed a lot. And you don't want to have to worry about continually rebranding yourself, even when your beliefs don't change. Hi, baby. You're gonna put the pizza in? Okay.
Yeah. What kind of water do you like?
You can pick.
Okay.
All right, I love you.
Get this bitch up. Oh my god, I haven't read you the cat back to today for 2 days.
Yeah. I'll get back to my thought once I can collect myself again. I think I've reached the end of a given rope. What is the cat fact of the day, darling?
For Wednesday, Meownificent Movies. Stuart
Okay.
Little, 1999.
Why is Stuart Little meownificent?
Snowbell, the Persian cat voiced by Nathan Lane, is not happy when the Littles adopt an anthropomorphic mouse named Stuart. Although Snowbell persuades a tomcat to get rid of Stuart, he has a change of heart when he sees how much the Littles care for Stuart. In the end, Snowbell helps the lost Stuart return home.
Ah, thank you for the plot summary of Stuart Little.
Have you never seen Stuart Little?
I have seen Stuart Little.
Oh.
It's been a really long time, and I don't think I feel like seeing it again. When did that movie come out? Like
1999.
1999. Yeah, no, I
So
saw
that
it
movie is
forever
23 years
ago.
old.
Yeah, it is. Um,
And then for the other cat fact of the day, famous cat lovers.
famous cat lovers.
Yes. Abraham Lincoln.
Abraham Lincoln apparently was a famous cat lover, guys. You heard it here first.
U.S. President Abraham Lincoln was an avid cat lover. During his time at the White House, he owned 2 cats, Tabby and Dixie. He also
Abraham Lincoln owned a cat named Dixie.
cared for the strays he encountered, including 3 kittens he found while visiting General Ulysses S. Grant toward the end of the Civil War.
Cool. What's he crying about?
There's still a squeaky under
Oh,
my
the
desk.
squeaky under the desk. VHS is sold. I feel old for remembering how to operate one. Yeah, Mew has Stuart Little on VHS.
Oh, I see it. I see it, Lafayette. Thank you. It's missing my ear.
But yeah, I mean, that's sort of the thing that I'm getting at. That's unfortunate. Yeah, that's sort of the thing that I'm getting at about, what's in a name. What the hell? What did I just do? I do, you can have convictions, you can have ideals, you can have, opinions. There ain't a thing wrong with that. But at the end of the day, it becomes more difficult for someone to learn and grow if they live under headers. Also because, especially as headers get bigger, it becomes more difficult to sort of find one that actually applies to you. I can't tell you how many people I've talked to that don't feel like they fit in any political party because they feel one way about one thing, but a different way about a different thing. And it doesn't totally line up with any particular representative. It doesn't totally line up with any particular sort of party, party, what's the word? The thing that where they write down all their ideas. We're going to probably have to fix that at some point. Party platform. And, and that's just sort of what I'm getting at. Again, it doesn't mean you shouldn't have convictions. I just don't feel like... I don't feel like branding oneself by anything other than those convictions and those convictions specifically is productive, except for in a political setting. Oh, he sure is. If you are running for office under a given party, then yeah, of course you probably want to be under that party's banner, but even then you could run it as an independent and just sort of wing it. Hi, baby. But of course, there are obvious reasons why, to caucus or run with a given political party, X, Y, and Z. I mean, politics is a game. The stakes are just high. And I do want to say, I am not saying that people who do label themselves in that manner are bad people. No, not bad people. It will just be harder for them to change. And, I'm not immune to it either. I'm not someone who has never felt like they belong in one way, in under one header or another. I just have to do that and step back, and that is not straight at all. Holy cow. When I do that, I have to step back and go, okay, but why do I want this? Why do I want this specifically? What do I want to be tied to, really? And The answer is never going to be everything on a party platform. I just have things, I have policies that I support. I have, you know, things that I want to have happen and things that I like. Also, it's 253. Um, it doesn't mean, not having a name doesn't mean I don't have convictions. I find that convictions are very important. You should have convictions. But I wouldn't put impediments to being able to change those convictions. And that's what I feel like the names are. That's what I feel like party branding or, um, you know, certain groups and titles and things. That's what it does. To me, for me, in my opinion. Honestly, I could see a lot of very strong and very reasonable disagreement about this. And part of it is driven, I'm sure, by just a desire to belong, right? You don't want to feel like you have to figure every facet of everything out. And that's actually pretty reasonable. Uh, you can go with a party because you sort of get one. There's one or two things that you really want to focus on. And I don't think that's necessarily the best way to go about it, but not everyone has the capacity for figuring out every facet of their ideology and what they want out of a politician. And you know what? I'm one of those people. Frankly, I don't know if anyone does. At least on the left, putting a name to it is partly an organizing tactic, but also, yeah, wanting to put a name to how you identify similar to gender identity. And this is something, TJ, I'm really glad you brought that up, because this is the other piece of it that I really wanted to talk about, that really stuck in my brain, which is there are so many people on, well, actually, I'll come back to that in a second, because I do want to address what you said. Yes, baby?
So I can't decide.
On the pizzas?
Yeah.
Between which, rule one out.
So there's Bessie's Revenge,
Mhm.
Holy Pepperoni,
Mhm.
and Mother of Meats.
Rule one out. Come on, it's 3, 2, 1. Just which one do you want the least?
I kind of want all of them. That's the problem.
You're not helping.
Okay, well, if I was to knock one off, probably Holy Pepperoni.
Okay.
Not really a big pepperoni.
Then let's do Mother of Meat, because we didn't have any protein with dinner last night.
No, we did not. So.
Did he? Yeah, so so yeah, no, it is an organizing thing, and that is, like I said, in terms of politics, right? In terms of wanting to organize, most certainly, right? Most certainly, having a name is important. I don't disagree with that, but it's just, you don't need to carry that all in your personal life. I love you too. Don't make politics your life. Don't make it your identity, right?
No, don't do that.
I don't even think that is a, what's the word? It's not like a super rule to live by. I just think it's a, it gets problematic. It gets problematic faster than it solves problems. Yay. Yeah. Sorry, I'm just thinking. I'm trying to process thoughts here. I'm so much worse at doing this than I used to be. It drives me completely insane.
Now you have me to distract you. That's the problem.
I don't think that's it, darling. And part of it is because I am much more afraid of conflict than I used to be. But yeah, I don't know. My brain just no work as good as it once did, I think. But that's, having a name for something is not inherently a bad thing. Applying that name to yourself wholesale, that I find is more problematic. And yeah, it's an organization thing. Yes, obviously. I totally understand the need for it in the end. Also, this is now a descent, and I don't want that. How much higher is this off the ground than this? Okay, it's all right. We'll do 0.15 because that's the gradient here. Um, but that's the thing. I don't think we should feel the need. And okay, so let me break it down into the two pieces here. Sorry, TJ, for fumbling this constantly. However, here's the deal, right? As a thing to organize, I think it's almost more than important. I think it's mandatory. I totally understand. Um, on the other hand, I feel uh, yeah, it's saying don't make politics your identity is simplifying it too much. But what I'm trying to say is when it comes to organizing it, when it comes to organizing, it is unbelievably important to uh, have something to route. Like branding. Branding is important. I get that. I can't deny that. It is something that's inherent to every facet of life where you're trying to get more than one person on the same page, right? Um, we're gonna make a big old sweeping curve here. Um, I should have built this on the ground and then elevated it. Uh, I don't. But that's the thing. I don't think we shouldn't. Uh, I don't think we shouldn't discuss politics. In fact, I think we should discuss politics. There's a reason political talk has never been banned in the Skype group and in the Discord server. Because it does absolutely touch every facet of our lives. I think we should talk about what we believe in. I think we should talk about what we think is right and wrong. And I think we need to be open to the things that we don't agree with. Which is sort of why it comes back, which is why I'm having this talk at all. Um, and I know that seems like a left field statement compared to my previous two, but that's what I'm getting at. Or that's where I started. Every time I want to make a political statement, it comes back to the "you are wrong" mantra. It comes back to the "I am wrong" mantra. It comes back to the idea that we need to listen at least as much as we talk, if not more. And that's why I say this, because I feel like it is an impediment. Branding oneself, putting oneself in boxes, is an impediment to having a conversation in cases. Because it presents you with too many assumptions. It it sets you up for things, whether you're on the receiving end or the giving end. It sets you up for thinking things about people that you don't need to think yet. Not until you've talked to them. At least. Um, and that's sort of my thing. That's what I mean, TJ. I hope that makes more sense. Um, that doesn't seem right. Um, but yeah, no, we shouldn't dismiss political talk. We should have the talks, right? Um, and that's why I do this, and I don't shy away from these discussions, even if I do shy away from a given, um, stance. Uh, I think the media landscape in this country and identity politics partly caused the whole "we're so divided" rada rada. I would agree with that as well. Um, I wanna get down with the politics side of this before I go on to the gender identity side of this. Um, maybe you missed part of my essay. Um, on these politics, we're in touch with every aspect of our lives. I mean, I think we are in agreement. I don't know why I feel like, yeah, in which I hunt for my food, really gain fear and this future situation that makes me need Food is all we need. Food. Okay. Um. Anyway, I don't think we are necessarily in disagreement either. Uh, I just I don't think anyone's coming after hunters. Uh, I need to push this in a little bit more, I think. I'm trying to make this even. Um, oh wait, no, the curve ends here and ends here. Okay, I think it's even. I think it's even. Um, so we had a rule that political memes go in that chat, but the rest of the admins decided that rule was dumb. Huh? Um, Dean, I'm confused. Uh, oh right, let me see if I can get this to be the right elevation now. I'm all confused. Dan Snyder sold the Commanders, that is a good thing. 0.15. Bop, 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 bop. Separate channel for politics turns into a catastrophe. Talk about it, but some people are civil. Yeah. Uh, the issue with a politics-specific channel or chat is always that it needs to be heavily, heavily moderated, so that it doesn't just turn into this and that. And that is a problem. Am I going downhill? I am going downhill again, aren't I? Which is why I'm going up here. Hold on. I forgot what the terrain is like over here. I think I missed something, but oh wait, no. This is yeah, we are going downhill. Oops. Let's try negative 0.05. Oh wait, no, I need to go down more than that. What is the gradient here? Shoot. Uh, but yeah, no, I just feel like the okay, remove the gradient. Now, what is the gradient? Excuse me. Grab the gradient. Grab the. Is this dead flat?
So the water bottle I bought the other day, right? This is what it looks like.
What am I looking at?
This is the straw.
Oh, why?
So it goes in like this, right? Then you put the cap on, and so you're gonna make sure this little triangle thing lines up with the cap.
There's no effing way this is flat.
You gotta make sure it's in there. So it's in there.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's got this little rubber piece on the end of the straw, right? And you tighten the lid
This is complicated.
on the water bottle, and it flattens that piece so the whole straw can fit in there.
This is complicated. What was wrong with your other bottle?
This one gets me through the whole day.
Okay. Well, you didn't even take the other one. Oh, wait a minute. Why is this... But I removed the... But I removed the gradient. Okay. Let's try this again. Okay. So, here we go. Oh, it's 0.56. Yeah, that's down. That sure is down. Anyway. Yeah, so... To come back to it now, to sort of round out the thought here and to move on to the second, like, the corollary piece, you know? I think political discussion is important in the facets of our lives. I feel like standing by one's ideals is important, but don't get lost in them. It's easier to do that without a brand name on yourself, and that's sort of my thing. I don't think you should carry a name around carry your ideals around, but don't carry a name around. Um, that's my thesis, or that's my thesis statement, or whatever you want to call it. Um, I came to talk about my views to say anyone is wrong. I just want to state ways in which we can live in harmony together, uh, despite our differing views. Uh, yeah, no, I mean, yes, I guess. I'm not sure if you're trying to summarize my own statements. Uh, where's my 4M standard bump? Give me that back. Uh, oh, it's just you don't want to be stuck in a box. Again, it's harder to change your mind when you're stuck in a box. My own with that little rant. Oh, okay, yeah. I think that's the same height then, because this is. Grab this. It's 0.56. That's what I applied over here. Pop, 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 pop. Hold on. Sorry about that. Now I'm distracted. I want to get this. Where's the next spline point? It's right there. Okay, I think we're still on the same downhill 0.5% or so. Yeah. Just don't cling to labels. Labels are just words. You know, flags are just symbols. Everything in life is about the meaning behind them, so why deal with the middleman? Is, I guess, what I'm trying to say. You know, why make it harder to change your mind? But yeah, and that's why, yes, boxes are good for organization. I don't think boxes are the way to feel that you belong. That's sort of my deal here. I don't think that's the way to find your inner peace. You know, I understand it can be gratefully helpful in finding one's people. You know, perhaps that. Yeah, depends what temperature is it outside. If it is cooler outside than it says on that thermometer, then please open the window.
This thermometer in here?
No, on that thermometer in the hallway.
That's what I meant.
Oh, okay, I was gonna say I don't know the thermometer that we have in here. It's even?
Yeah.
All right, open that freaking window, please. I'm gonna die. Um,
It's a steady 80 on the porch.
yeah, that doesn't surprise me. Yes, that one's open. So yeah, look at the straightest piece of rail we've had on Tolbrin thus far.
Hey, man. You gonna go look
Fire
out
up the
window?
stove, yeah. Yeah, right.
On the porch? Fuck no.
But yeah, it is a way that people find their box or find their people. I don't think it's necessarily the most healthy way to do so, because finding political discussion is an important part of our lives. It expands our uh, it expands our understanding of the world around us, and that's incredibly important. Uh, I don't feel like you should have a homogenous group of friends that all think the same thing. You know, I feel like that's a detriment to who we are, right? And it's a detriment to us being able to sort of grow and change and learn as people. But yeah, I mean, I won't dismiss the necessity of branding for actual politics to happen. Um, that of course is important. But something that TJ said earlier is the other piece that was in my head here, and I really want to bring this up because despite this being an even touchier topic, it's something that I see a lot of and I think about because people are obsessed with their political boxes, but the only thing more prevalent or more important to people than their political boxes is their sex and gender boxes. And we have more than ever, but we just keep making more boxes. And I don't know if that's, it might be helping in the short run, and I don't necessarily think that it's like, oh God, we've gone wrong, right? But people, I see constant posts about people who are like, oh, I had, a woman who has, I had this like incredible sexual experience with a woman, but I think I'm straight. What does that make me? Or like I like women's bodies, but I don't like vaginas. What does that make me? And I sit there and I look at these and I go like, what is it? It doesn't matter. You know, I you like who you like, what you like, where you like it, when you like it. I don't, and again, this is a lot of talk coming from someone who is, if you were to fit them in a box, is just a straight white man, but uh, a straight cis man. I suppose being white doesn't matter in the case of gender. Uh, uh, Shoot with this high pressure ridge setting up, and I've already started digging a drainage ditch at the farm. Um, can we keep the bedroom talk in the bedroom? I mean, decorum is nice. It's just another thing that, I mean, we shouldn't hide from it on the one hand, but on the other hand, how much does it matter? And that's really my point. Uh, about putting oneself in boxes. Again, it happens in politics a lot, and I feel like it causes detriments for those reasons I mentioned. But and I keep the bedroom talk in the bedroom. Yeah, it depends on what you mean by bedroom talk. Um, we've actually hit 2 hours here, and we did this piece of terrain. I guess I should really go work on the town. Um, Maybe he's struggling. He can't get on the thing. But it's just sort of a question of, uh, to me, it comes down to who do you like, what do you like, appearance, you know, whatever. And I just have to wonder, you know, honk me like a car, honka honka. Yeah, maybe it should. Um, but it just, yeah. So sorry to collect my thoughts once again. Again, I'm terrible at this these days. I have to repeat the same thing 17 times before I can actually get a point across. Uh, Bedroom talk is telepathic. Well, I mean, if you're really in sync with someone, it might as well be. Uh, no, but what I mean is, people are obsessed with finding the right box for them. You know, now that we realize as a society, bottom text, that we can have more than two, people are obsessed about finding the right one. And I don't, I don't see the point because once you break out of the idea that things are either this or that, then why continue to do that? Why not go buck wild? Why not never worry about that again? You know? Um I like this. That's as far as it needs to go. You know, I like wearing this. I like using these pronouns. I like people with these organs. You know, it it's sort of again, it's the same thing as what I said earlier. It's just in a different context. And yes, finding your box can make you feel good phrasing, but but it is less important than finding people who you like, you know? Yeah, I mean, and it is. I mean, that is Mew. There's finding the right box, but I think a major source of conflict is believing that other people should fit in the box that you decided exists. Well, yeah, and that's the that's sort of where we started. Uh, but I can't, you know, you can't make other people necessarily, unless they want to. You can make other people change their minds about things. They can decide to based on the things that you present them, but if somebody isn't open to it, you're never going to make any headway. Instead, the reason I bring this up again is because of people making posts and wondering, being perplexed, being stressed out because they don't know where they fit. And I wish it would matter to nobody. I wish it did not matter where anyone fit, because there is no fit. Uh, it's another aspect of self-expression. I think beyond you must go in box A or B, sort of an easy descriptor word among groups of similar but differing groups of non-cis people. But that's you know, it's important to non-cis people. No, I get that, and I understand why it is. But if it was unimportant, how am I trying to put this? If like I understand why it is important in the modern context to have all these different boxes, because people want to find a place where they fit because they feel like they don't fit in like the basic set, you know? They feel like they don't fit in the society that we've had, you know, the way that it's put together right now. And I understand that. I understand that the creation of all these boxes is in search of a sense of belonging. But I wish we could, and this is being, optimistic. I'm not giving out like the things that I've said over the course of this aren't necessarily life advice. You can take them to heart if you want, but this isn't, this is an idealized world as I might see it. And I might be wrong about that. You know, I could create a world and it wouldn't effing work at all. Yeah, it's a logistical thing. It is a way to summarize things. I just wish it didn't need to go beyond, are you into you, are you into me? Am I into you, are you into me? Again, how do you communicate that? That's a good question. But it would mean being a lot more candid than hiding behind labels. And hiding behind is not the right word, but I don't know. Like, I understand why these are important in the modern context. I just wish they were not important. Because I'm not saying that they aren't. I'm saying that in an idealized situation, they aren't. People stress out about not fitting into this box or that. Yeah, the closest we can get for now. Perhaps true. Perhaps true. And that's why we are where we are. And that's why things are the way they are. And I ask these questions almost as rhetoricals, because if I'm going to sit here and ask those questions, I can dig down to what the answers are. And so I'm sorry if I feel like I'm putting the burden of, please explain this to me, on you guys in the audience. But I'm just sort of putting that out there as wouldn't it be nice, an idealized society, an idealized situation where we don't have to worry about fitting into boxes. For practical purposes, we need political labels. for practical purposes, we need gender labels. We need sexual preference labels. We need to label things so that they make sense. You can't just, your file structure cannot just be a bunch of files all named 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Because how on earth do you communicate that? How on earth do you organize that? Well, it's too much work, you know? No. It it is, in a sense, it is a necessity. But I damn sure wish it wasn't. And I think when someone is discovering things about themselves, or when someone is engaging in a political discussion, leaving labels behind is the first step, perhaps, in opening the door to learning something about others, about oneself, about the world around us, about the people around us. So, thank you for coming to my TED Talk. I honestly wasn't sure if I was going to have this conversation in the first place, but it is literally a 30-second thought that I had while I was on the can before I started this video. I went, I wish people didn't use political labels so much. Because I'm sitting there and thinking about that. It actually, I will give full disclosure. The gender part of it, of course, like I said, is based on countless posts I've seen on the sex subreddit of people questioning what they are and sort of asking, what does this make me? And the answer to that to me has always just felt like, well, don't worry about it. But obviously that's not a satisfactory answer for anybody because it doesn't answer their question, and I totally understand that. That's incredibly frustrating. It's, how do I beat this game? Well, you get good, or you'll figure it out. And yeah, to an extent, people will figure it out given time. But that's not the answer. That's not what anyone wants to hear. That's not the answer anyone wants to get. They want an answer. And so, people are making these posts and they want an answer. And man, I really just wish it could be ended with, don't worry about it. You like who you like and you are who you are. But the other part of it comes down to not rehash that for the millionth time now. The other part of it comes down to a discussion that actually TJ and Dean were having. And TJ asked Dean, and please don't start the conversation again, this is not an invite to do that, if he was a constitutional originalist. And Dean didn't know what that was off the top of his head, which is totally fair. And I'm just thinking like, okay, but what's with the boxes though? And even if the answer was yes, even if somebody says they are, that comes with all sorts of other baggage that they might not all agree to. They might not all think about. All these labels and terms that go flying around, they don't necessarily mean what they mean yesterday, today. And when these terms come into being, they are made up by somebody making up a label for a thing that they think that they are. It's not, there is no glossary of political boxes somewhere. I doubt there's even a glossary. Aren't I just describing academia as a whole, though? I suppose that I am. I think just my point is that these terms originate for somebody trying to come up with an answer for a question of what is this thing? It is not creating terms necessarily with, you don't necessarily create terms with alternate meanings. You don't necessarily integrate terms with all the rest of the terms that exist. I think my point here isn't so much that these things mean nothing as it is that these things mean something, but only as far as we know them to mean. you know, language is fluid, terms are fluid. It's just not. It's not cut and dry.
It's out of the oven. Just give it a couple minutes. Let it.
Okay, it's not cut and dry, and the fact that it isn't hampers our ability to have conversations sometimes. You know, this also happens on the capitalism v socialism subreddit, which is kind of a dumpster fire. I don't recommend it. Uh, where 99% of the arguments are people arguing semantics because there is no agreed upon definition of various ideologies, even. Uh, and even when there is, not everyone knows them all to heart. Not everyone respects them all that much, uh, or even applies them to themselves completely. You might say, I am a constitutional originalist, but, and now you've destroyed the term. Uh, yeah, socialism isn't one singular thing. That's another thing that comes up there a lot. You know, it's, you know, when you have to caveat a term, the term, the term's meaning has failed. Especially if you were applying it to yourself. And maybe has failed is a little bit too dramatic, but the term's meaning is insufficient. I'll say that. And that's just kind of where I'm at. It's and that's again, that's why that subreddit drives me off a wall sometimes. I don't participate, I just sort of step in and look at the arguments from time to time. That's why a lot of conversations can be frustrating to me. And that's why I, you know, like what, for example? Like what? Sorry, I'm not sure when exactly you posted that comment. And this is not me being obtuse, I swear to God. Uh, but yeah, I'm gonna need you to elaborate because I can't remember what I just said. I'm sorry. Uh, I am my own person. I believe what I believe. No label can define me, nor can any computer or trained professional. Uh, like adding a qualifier, diluting the effectiveness of the word. You know, uh, I'll pick a really wackadoodle one. All right, how's this? Because this will make everyone equally angry, I guess. Uh, I This is an example. I am a constitutional originalist, but they definitely made mistakes with the Second Amendment. Or you know, but the Second Amendment's meaning is you know problematic. Even I don't know, but just things in that vein. I don't want to get down into specific examples, partly because I'm going to fumble them like that, but because you've now, in that example, right, you've given yourself a term. You've given yourself a term that you are using to define yourself, but then you are also defining yourself in a way that's external to that term. So what's with the term in the first place? And again, yes, there are uses and utility, but it creates more questions than answers sometimes, and yeah, I see what you mean. I would hope so. Uh, I was thinking like democratic socialism doesn't dilute the fact that it's socialism; it's just the type of socialism that it is. Even then, yeah, I mean, you're running into, in that example you insert down in yourself fitting within that label. Yeah. Not only do you undermine that usage of the label, you undermine the label. I should have said those the other way around. But yeah, I was thinking like democratic socialism does dispute the fact that socialism is just a type of socialism. And I mean, yeah, adding prefixes, adding suffixes, in this case, it's not a prefix or a suffix; it's a whole word. But making, sort of the adjustment to tailor a term to, uh, even if it's just to explain it better, right? Oh man, Matt, don't worry about it. Even if it's just to tailor a term, it's it is in some cases, or at least in some perspectives, undermining that term. You end up just the whole thing starts falling apart. Um, Also, and to come back to the issue with terms one more time, I want to move on to something else, but one more time to come back to the issue with terms. You have, um, oh, this is cute. What is this? Um, oh, this is really cute. Look at this. The pumpkin. This would be like something at Essex. Um, I'm going to attach this to the side of the building, I think. Black Lives Matter or defund the police. The movements behind the terms are good, but the terms themselves caused a lot of problems. I mean, honestly, those aren't bad examples. Uh, and that is honestly possibly one of the places that I started thinking about this, where even you and I have had conversations on like branding and what it's good for and what it does, and it's just like, okay, but why can't we just say like the thing that we mean? Uh, and yeah, there are reasons why the branding is useful, but there's also reasons why um, the branding is problematic. Uh, Shoot, I was thinking of something, and now I have. Oh, there's the bridge. There's the barge bridge. Uh, I want to find something to fit in this area, but I don't know what. Maybe like some greenhouses actually. Let's get greenhouses in here. But yeah, TJ, I don't think you're off base there with that assessment. What is this? Is definitely a blue house. I don't know what. I don't know who decided that was a thing. Oh my God, this is tiny. Maybe we'll have to use the blue house. What about this? This is even smaller. What the heck? Hold on, let me see if there's anything else in the search filter. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, okay, okay. Oh, that's much better. I like that a lot. Um, Look, they're just taking the money became the narrative. Yeah, and it's and the moment you try to use a label like that, even if you're using it for yourself, you put a Black Lives Matter sticker on your car, right? Uh, which compared to some things is not the most insane thing in the world. If it's one sticker, is what I'm saying. I'm just saying, like, some people go crazy. TJ, you made a point of it earlier. Um, um, but you have no idea where that term is going to go. Uh, you have no idea what's going to happen with that. That might be out of your control, and you might even not know all the baggage that might entail now or in the past or in the present. So instead of, you could just be like, you could just hold those ideals and express them in more direct ways. Although Black Lives Matter is a tough one to express in a more direct way. It was admittedly not an atrocious slogan that just got co-opted and turned into, well, it got commercialized, I guess you could say. Um, but yeah, I'm gonna make this sidewalk bigger. What time is it? It's 9:19. Let's grab some sidewalk. If I can't get up on the couch. Poor thing. Poor thing. Oh, now he's barking at somebody. Oh, the sidewalk is not large enough. I'm gonna have to scoot the building forward. But yeah, we got a lot of good track work done today, to come back to this. Like I said, I you know, this is something that's been brewing, but the actual thought of it, like the actual, why don't we just not use labels so much, didn't really exist in my head until right before this stream started. Half the reason this is so dysfunctional and disorganized is because there was no like cohesive thought process going on. It was an idea that spawned in my head, and I just ran with it. So I hope this is sometimes tolerable. I'm. Let's change the topic. So in another topic, I might be getting a bunch of 187th scale equipment in a few years. That's a lot of lead time. What's going on? Oh wait, you said it was morbid earlier, didn't you? Who's dying? I'm sorry for your loss, also. If it's someone you know. Hello, Shortline. You're here for the easy end of the stream, where we won't get caught up in politics anymore. We did 2 hours of that. So this just comes to mind, by the way, with the 187 stuff. That's HO scale, right? I'm always second guessing my crap. Oh, Orion, I'm so sorry to hear that. I'm currently going through the slow process of losing my grandmother, and it is not fun. Shortline, that is poor timing. Yeah, it's a hard thing. I mean, my grandmother is congenital heart failure. I mean, she's 97, so it's not exactly coming as a surprise to anybody. But it is still hard, especially because we lost my grandfather last year, a year and a half ago. Oh man. I will make one diversion and say that Shortline gets his news from the recently updated section on Wikipedia, which I think is such an awesome move. I wish I did that. Dean, not funny. He's constantly overworking himself. Well, I mean, at least he's still working himself. My grandmother has practically lived in a chair for the last several years. Why aren't those signs? Why can't I write things on those signs? This is a cool building, actually. Let's put this over here. Wanted to hear more stories from Carmino. Yeah, I mean, he was a legend. I wish I had more stories about him. Him and my Uncle Joe D, which was his brother, who was still alive at 99 years old and fought in the Battle of the Bulge. Definitely lots of stories there. But 187 equipment, HO scale equipment, it makes me think of something I saw earlier, because I was talking with some folks about having O scale on the floor, because I saw a picture of Heises having his O scale on the floor, and I went, I'm not allowed to do that anymore, and explained why. Which, for those who don't know or don't remember, is because Gloria, in trying to be very careful and not step on the O gauge track, stepped over it, missed, and wrecked their ankle. Like, rolled their ankle super bad, and was in a boot for 4 months. What? Yeah, Gloria practically broke their ankle. It wasn't fun. I had to hoist Gloria in and out of the shower once or twice, while you were still in the cast.
Yeah, that was a time.
Mm-hmm. And
Not a good time, but it was a time.
I want to interview some vets about the war, but I don't have any project to put them in. I mean, you could start one. I might be able to get you an audience with Uncle Joe D. I don't know how reluctant he is to talk about his time in the war. I understand, like many, he has been fairly reluctant in the past. But apparently he opened up to my dad about it recently. Because my dad always goes to see him. He taught my dad a lot. He's the unsung member of Frank and Frank, actually, is Uncle Joe D. So, yeah. So, I'm not allowed to have O-scale stuff on the floor. O-scale is about the smallest thing I would want to have on the floor. I feel like if it gets smaller than that, the risk of stepping and breaking something goes up astronomically. Like I would not want to have S on the floor because that's difficult. Um, because S is just a pain. But I definitely wouldn't want to have like HO scale on the floor. And somebody posted a picture of their HO scale on the floor, and I just like cringed internally because man, I wouldn't want to put my weight on any of that track. O scale track you can stand on, you can practically jump on it, it won't move. At least the fast track, you know. Uh, but HO scale is a little too small for that. I mean, at that point, if you have a 4x8 space or even like a dining table, just put it on the table. You might have to take it down later, but put it on the table. Save yourself. Uh, Keep you and everyone else from tripping over it and damaging it is the real concern. And I mean, uh, destroying your ankle is one chance out of a million. I feel uh, when you have Trainz on the floor. That doesn't mean I'm allowed to do it again. But doing, uh, you know, having stuff, the major danger is damaging it. And yeah, I mean, Bachmann Easy Track is not too bad, but even still, the connectors on the ends are pretty fiddly. I got real annoyed with Bachmann Easy Track growing up because it's just I felt like I was always breaking off the little rail joiners or bending them or whatever. Lafayette's looking out the window. I'm getting hungry. I should go cut that pizza. I forgot we had a pizza. Why? MTH's old track system. I feel like I've seen MTH's track system. I just don't like remember what it looks like off the top of my head. I might end this so that I can go eat. I mean, we've had 2.5 hours. We've built track all the way to here. Also, I don't think it's perfectly straight, but it's close. It had gray, like a dark gray. Because I think I know what you're talking about. Hold on, actually, let me just look it up. MTH track system. Oh, there goes the dog. Oh yeah. I have seen this before. Yeah, the ends are really flimsy looking. Um, yeah, because I don't want to. I want to eat when I cut this pizza, but I don't want to eat and do the thing. And half an hour is too short of a time to do the AI. So, well, I guess I will see you guys next week. We got some really good work done today, and we only really have a couple of blocks left to do on this. And I guess my closing statements are: you're wrong more than you think you are, and so am I, and that's okay. Did you hear that? It sounded like the default iPhone alarm outside. Like the one that used to freak the hell out of me. Maybe. But yeah. You are whoever you are. You believe whatever you believe. You don't need to worry about fitting yourself into boxes. You don't need to worry about always fitting in the mold. None of that matters. Not even a little bit. Pursue your passions. Love whoever you want, unless they say no. And always remember that you always have something to learn. And so do I. And I appreciate all of you for teaching me. Now, I will see you tomorrow for the community playdate, but next week on More Under Construction. This is the Admiral, signing off.